those hostages aren't back, I don't want to hurt your negotiation. If they're not back by the time I get into office, all hell will break out in the Middle East.
Can you elaborate?
And it will not be good for Hamas, and it will not be good, frankly, for anyone. All hell will break out. I don't have to say anymore, but that's what it is. And they should have given them back a long time. They should have never taken them. There should have never been the attack of October 7th. People forget that.
Ashish Prashar is a former advisor to the Middle East peace envoy and a former political strategist to the Biden campaign. He joins us now from New York. Good to have you back with us, Ashish. We heard there some strong remarks from the president-elect there threatening of hell if the remaining hostages aren't returned by the time he takes office on January 20th. What do you make of Trump's remarks? Is it a sign that he really does not want to inherit this Gaza war when he becomes president again?
Well, Donald Trump needs to understand that his threats are hollow. Sorry. So Donald Trump needs to understand his threats ring hollow. Promising hell to the Middle East is ridiculous when you think that nobody is living in paradise in Gaza right now. What else can he do? There are 300,000 people, by some estimates, dead already. There's 20,000 children at the lower estimates dead, loads missing, buried under the rubble. Israeli occupation soldiers are murdering children in the streets. They're killing pregnant women, and they have wiped out entire family lines. So what the hell can Donald Trump do that's not been already done to the people of Gaza, the people of Palestine, the people of the Middle East, who've experienced this? They've experienced fighting in Lebanon, and they've experienced things all across the region, from Syria recently as well. What this actually is a distraction for the Biden administration right now, which has sent $8 billion more weapons and aid and cash to Israel to continue this extermination of the Palestinian people. What Donald Trump needs to understand is Hamas and all those other resistance organizations do not react to his statements or his tweets the same way the American liberal does when he tweets about things like abortion, right? They are thoughtful, they're strategic. These organizations from the ground have fought with a lot less than they have today, and they've survived a lot worse. And they will continue to fight and resist as long as they can to get freedom for the Palestinian people. Now, on the hostages themselves, we all know the roadblock to any deal, including, this has been also told by hostage families, the roadblock to any deal has been Benjamin Netanyahu. So if anyone is either back-channeling with him or Trump needs to direct his public threats to, it's Benjamin Netanyahu if he doesn't want to inherit the mess that is Gaza right now.
Well, that does lead me to my next question, because while the onus in those remarks was put on Hamas, is it also adding a bit of pressure to Netanyahu and the Israeli government to really close in on a deal, because they have been accused of stalling efforts to reach any sort of a ceasefire?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably behind the scenes there's a lot of pressure on Bibi Netanyahu from the Trump team to actually wrap this up. I think Trump even said in the debate he'd like this all wrapped up before he gets into office. I think you'd see right now Bibi has done as much destruction as humanly possible, I think, at this point, right? We've talked about the amount of bombs that have been dropped that are 3 or 4 Hiroshima levels. He's, again, exterminated potentially a 10% to 12% of the population of Gaza. You know, for Trump, he probably doesn't want to continue this madness, right? He wants to look like a peacemaker. He did this in his first term with North Korea and other people. He wants to look like the peacemaker, even if that's not necessarily what he ends up doing. Now, he could be pressuring Bibi behind the scenes where we're not seeing to get the deal done so he can say that he secured a deal. He secured a deal, something that Biden couldn't do. He secured a deal to get hostages released. He secured a deal to return peace to the region, even if that's not going to happen. And he'll probably give Bibi things that he already wants. I think we've discussed this in the past, where Trump has been open about annexing the West Bank for Israel. You know, these are the things that the Israeli cabinet today wants, and Donald Trump is probably willing to give. The only thing that's that's really important to note. It's not like Joe Biden or any other Democrat is stopping the annexation of the West Bank. They just don't make it policy. They're letting settlers do it by themselves. Trump will just make it public and policy that we're annexing this. And that might be enough. That might be enough for Bibi to stop his immediate hostilities on Gaza so he can get the hostages released and make Trump look good. Because that's what it's about. Trump's brand, and he wants to look good and do something that Biden couldn't do. Even though their policy the American policy here isn't any different between the two.
Okay, Ashish Prashar, we'll have to leave it there. Thanks again for joining us on the program.